athletes are doing the work here, and they're the reason why you tune in. So
amen.
They get the money for that. But Stryd actually sweetened the pot in both the 1,500 and the 5,000 meters, throwing an extra $500 onto the prize purse there. So that's up for grabs here this evening in this race.
It's huge. I mean, you know, to be at a quality facility with strong fields and to have prize money, it's unfortunately not a common thing. You know, oftentimes our athletes are scrapping to even find competitions, and they're you know, happy to do it for free just because they need that race. And so, you know, this approach of being able to watch it, to be able to watch a race unfold as well is a really huge thing, you know, in this pay-per-view format where we can give athletes the respect that they deserve, and we can allow viewers the, you know, trust that the reason they love the sport of track and field is because they like to watch the race unfold. They like to see the strategy. They love to see the people navigate the pack. You can't do that when you're cutting in and out of commercials continually and only showing portions of the race. And so that's huge.
So the pace here that they're targeting, 15:10, is around 73 seconds per 400. So it looks like they're right on it at the moment coming through this first 400 meters. Steph Brown looks down at her watch to click it. We have Lauren Paquette up here right behind Steph Brown. Anna Connor in the lead, then Steph Brown, then Lauren Paquette of the NAZ Elite. And then Natalia Hawthorne, excuse me, and Katie Izzo.
These first two, as we mentioned, are pacers, so they're getting out often in these longer races, although also in the 600. When the pace is super hot, having two pacers is really helpful to get pacing further into the race. You know, if you're doing a 5K, by having two pacers, you could hopefully get help through maybe, you know, 2K, maybe even 3K if you're lucky, and that can really make a difference for the athletes to just get them over that hump, because the 5K can definitely, there can be that slump in that, you know, 2/3 of the way through.
And there's a strong field here to help, and it is a good size field too, and all of the women have goals in this field to hit a certain time, so they want to share the work. But ultimately, this is about the win in the end, too, so they're each going for that. I was told in my earpiece that wasn't a timing issue. It was a faulty shell from the starting gun that called them back.
Interesting. Okay.
Apologies to Athletic Timing for the accusations, and thank you very much for the great work that you do.
Yes, I do not ever mean to insinuate that there was anybody's fault in that. But it is always fascinating. I mean, there's so much technology that goes into getting all of these races put together. And yeah, usually when something like that happens, it's, if you don't see a body go down or someone step inside the track, there's something going on. A faulty shell.
Faulty shell.
Yeah.
So we still have Steph Brown up front, Lauren Paquette, and then Natalia Hawthorne behind her, then Katie Izzo, and then Danny Shanahan of the NAZ Elite, and Reagan Yee wearing that colorful Under Armour uniform too. Steph Bruce behind her, and then Kellyn Taylor in the hat. The marathoners jumping on the track to do some 5K work here.
Yeah, and you know, Steph Bruce has a really powerful story. This is her final season. As she shared, she decided she wanted to announce it was her final season at the start of the year rather than at the end. She has some health issues that are making it sort of necessary that this be the end of her career, and she wants this to be her gritty year. So really going into races, putting herself in them, challenging herself in new ways. So, you know, as someone who's raced against Steph most of my career, or at least, you know, peers with her, it's, you know, I'm really excited to see her go out there and really put herself in these races to do great things.
Yeah, very strong personality in the sport, and good for the sport too.
Yeah.
So we have 3:04 through the K here. They're past that now, but they came through 3:04, and 3:02 is...
Couple seconds slow for the 15:10 goal, but, you know, you're not going to run a 5K like a metronome, so... you know, and also with the 5K, it's not always the worst thing to go a little on the conservative side to start. Make sure you get yourself to that third mile still feeling like you have something left, because if not, it can be, you can make up a lot of time in the last K, or you can lose a lot of time. So I would say they're in a great spot.
And this is coming from the former American record holder in the 5,000 meters outdoors.
Yes, I have gone out too hard in races and paid for it. I think the only race I ever dropped out of was a 5K where I went out too hard. On the other side of things, you can make up 10 seconds in that last K if you really close well. And so that's why, I think going out 3:04 when on pace exactly was 3:02 is actually quite great.
So they're 4:56 through the mile. 4:53 is what they're looking for 15:10 pace. But as you're just saying, it's good to wind it up in a 5K.
And close. It's not that they're so far off that they can't make that up. They're all strung out, which means, this is a good pace for them. None of them are really itching to push it that much faster. And I think, now we have the two pacers out. So now's the time we see there's 2 miles left. They're all going to have to really work together to get, to keep that pace honest in that middle mile.
And Paquette at the front here, and that's Natalia Hawthorne still and Katie Izzo. So they have not changed roles up front, at least for the first 4 athletes. Danny Shanahan behind Katie Izzo, and then Kellyn Taylor, the marathoner, behind Danny Shanahan, and the only marathoner that Scott Fauble fears. Is what I've been told. I
think she made a pretty big move to move up a couple spots. It looked like she wanted to get a little, not a little further up into the pack. She might have been seeing some gaps forming, and she didn't want let them get too big.
So they're running about 37-second 200s here. That was 6:10 with 15 laps to go in this 5,000-meter race. Lauren Paquette out front. Hawthorne, Izzo, Shanahan, Reagan Yee, Kellyn Taylor. And here you got to expect Katie Izzo to be chomping at the bit, running 8:46 in Boston a few weeks ago. She's got the fitness. A lot of these NAZ elite athletes, Northern Arizona Elite, that's what the NA stands for, NAZ. They're opening up their season with this race in the 5,000 meters. So they've been training to hit this mark here, coming down from altitude at Flagstaff. Yeah. It's a haven for distance runners.
It is. It's interesting with these longer races too. I often talked about with my coaches how a shorter race, a 400 and 800, you might need a few races in your legs to be able to hit your kind of best time, peak time. When you start to get to the 5K or the 10K, we just had Lauren Paquette drop out, so my guess is maybe she was trying to help bring it along. But for these longer races, a 5K and especially a 10K, you could often come out and run your best time in that one race. If you do the training right, you taper correctly. So even though this is their first race, but coming down from altitude, they should be ready, I would think, to run some pretty good times.
Yes, we have Natalia Hawthorne out front now after Lauren Paquette stepped off, and Katie Izzo behind her, and then Danny Shanahan, Kellyn Taylor, Reagan Yee on the outside there, and then Steph Bruce. So that was a 37 low again for that 200-meter split. 12 laps to go. Yep. And they're about 8:03 at that split. So Natalia Hawthorne up front, and now Danny Shanahan moving to the front, help share the pacing duties a little bit. Because it's a little bit before they get to the racing in the 5,000.
Yeah, with 12 laps to go, they're about halfway. When I set my American record in the 5K, I changed leads with the competition. It was actually a really helpful thing in that middle portion when you can start to feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much left to go. To be kind of mixing it up, to be taking the lead, have someone else pass you, it just breaks up some time. So, I think that it's great to also keep the race honest so it doesn't slow down. That last lap was a 36, so they've picked it up. I had been seeing a bunch of 37s per lap, which is a little slower than the pace that they wanted. Now's the time they're going to have to start cranking it down if they want to try to hit that 15:10.
Yeah, 36:05. And now Natalia Hawthorne back to the front. That was a 37.5, so they stepped it down a little bit and then came right back to the 37 pace with 10 laps to go.
Should be going into the they're hitting 2 miles at the end of this next lap. We're looking for a 9:46. So a little bit slower than that.
So they're stepping it up. The fans are starting to pound their feet, make some noise out there. I love that about indoor track. 9:54 about roughly through 2 miles here. Kellyn Taylor moves onto the heels of Natalia Hawthorne, the Canadian Olympian, who punched her time to the Olympics at the Stumptown Twilight last year, running 4:04.2 to the 100th, which was the Olympic standard. So she made it by the skin of her teeth.
And there's Kellyn Taylor up at the front. You know, she's got that strength. She says, okay, now it's get this second half of the race is my time.
Yeah, the marathoner back there drawing on her strength, Kellyn Taylor and Steph Bruce here. Yep. But Natalia Hawthorne up front, 1,500 meter, 5,000 runner, who last year broke her 5,000 meter personal best by 58 seconds. So she went from 16:03 to 15:05 in 2021.
That is quite the improvement. So we're seeing some more 37s again. 36s, 37s. It'll be interesting to see over this, with about 8 laps to go, a little bit less now, you know, if they're going to try to hit that 15:10, whether that's even something that they're still trying to strive for, they're going to have to really start picking up these last laps.
So about 11:09 there, 37.2 for that last lap. It's 7 laps to go when they hit that previous lap marker there. Natalia Hawthorne still out front, and Kellyn Taylor right on her shoulder. So there's a little bit of a distance back to Katie Izzo and Steph Bruce there, but this looks like a 2-woman race at this point.
When it looks like Kellyn wants to pass, but Natalia's trying to hold her off. You know, and on, like we were saying earlier, on these indoor tracks with the bank, you know, running that little extra distance, not always ideal, but it's tough to get past someone. If it's, you know, if you want to hold them off, you can really take advantage of those turns as a way to kind of make it that much tougher for them to actually get by you.
Inside 6 laps to go, that was another 37.4. And Kellyn Taylor, interesting story. Her indoor PR is 16:11 as she goes to the front. Indoor PR is 16:11 from 2009 from Cedar Falls, Iowa.
So I think that's going down today.
I would hope so. Her outdoor PR is 15:11 in this race. And she's at the front now in the hat. Natalia Hawthorne behind her. And Natalia trying to hold on to Kellyn Taylor. Kellyn Taylor's looking very strong right now. 5 laps to go. That was 36.7, so she's ratcheting down the pace, and she's opening up some daylight here in the podium.
Yep.
So there's Steph Bruce. She's passed Katie Izzo there, moved into 3rd place. Danny Shanahan coming around the bend. And Kellyn Taylor here coming back to the finish line. Let's see, she'll have 4 laps to go when she hits that 800 meters. 12, just under 13 minutes. That was a 35.5.
She's bringing it down.
So she's bringing it down here, definitely.
With that 15:11 PR, I imagine she, you know, is motivated to try to see how close she can get to that. And we had about, you know, at the 2-mile mark, we were about 8 seconds off that pace. Which once again is really doable if, you know, you can make up a lot of time in that last K.
So here coming up with 3 laps to go. Kellyn Taylor looking very strong, and I trust her instincts here as a marathoner, knowing that she's able to measure what she has left. She knows that red line better than anybody, I think. 35.3, so that's the fastest 200-meter split of the race so far.
So the lap pace that they were looking for, if it was even splits the whole way, was 73. So she already made up 3 seconds just in that last 70 for the 2 combined.
And we'll see what kind of leg speed she has coming into 2 laps to go here. Kellyn Taylor looking very strong.
You know, I think that's where, as a marathoner, she wanted to start early because she knows, not that she doesn't have great speed, but she knows she has strength. And so you can start squeezing it down earlier and running, you know, maybe more 35s in a row than her competition might be able to, and really, you know, as you can see, put a big distance on the next athlete.
35.5 for that last 200 meters here. So she's inside quarter to go. here at the podium, and this is all the Kellyn Taylor show. She's blown apart this field at this moment, and we're going to hear the bell pretty soon. There it is.
This is another, let's see.
They're ringing it. 35.7. So she was at 14:45 with 200 meters to go.
That's 6 seconds off the pace that we're looking for.
100 meters.
10, but here we come. Let's see her close.
She's inside the final stretch now, and she's circling around for the fans.
Looks great.
They're giving it up for her at the moment. She looks like she could keep going here.
Oh, it looks like great. She looks wonderful.
And here we are, 15:21 for Kellyn Taylor.
It's a really strong last
Natalia,
mile.
Natalia Hawthorne coming in second there for Brooks and Canada. And that was Steph Bruce coming in for third.